G'day YouTube. It's an absolutely muggy and hot morning here in Sydney. It's only 9 a.m. It's about 30 degrees and 93% humidity. So very tropical. The plants are absolutely loving it. But I've been doing a bit of repotting of seedlings, and I thought I'd do a part 2 on growing out seedlings to go with my sowing seeds video and the making seeds video previous to that. Now, I decided not to wait till the seeds I sowed in the video to get to a point, so I've brought out some seedlings that I sowed last year. I think about February. No memory, yeah. So this is a cool cross I made. This is a Ventricosa Red cross Lavicola. So you can see there, nice full pot. But what I did find was interesting, I did 2 pots of this when I sowed the seeds. And as they got a bit of size to them, I separated out one of the pots. I did put them under some better light, so there's a bit of improvement in growth there. But it does show that when they're crammed in like this, they're starting to fight for nutrients, root space, things like that. Because this is what it looks like when I repotted this. I only repotted these maybe 4 or 5 months ago at the most. So it does show you do have to pick your timing. Once they're strong enough to be separated out, I try and act on it as quick as I can. When I have space, I might show you in the greenhouse what I'm dealing with later. But yeah, so I'll give you a rundown of how I pot them up, what I use, and go from there. I won't show you the whole pot. No one wants to sit here for the next hour watching me pot up seedlings. If anyone does, they're more than welcome to open up a webcam and check it out. But I'll show you what I got going here. And if you haven't yet, jump on and hit the subscribe button. I'm using this channel to try and teach people what I've learned over the years of Nepenthes. There will be some videos of just showing off, some cool plants. The stuff that I love watching on YouTube, I try and replicate similar things. So I'll spin you around here. So you can see here, this is the pot I'm going to divide. That was the previously divided pot, so that's going to be a nice one. And I did bring this out to show you. I'm going to repot this as well. This is Lolii Veitchii cross Maxima Dark, which I'm super excited about these. I've got the reverse cross being Maxima Dark cross Lolii Veitchii from EP, and it is absolutely stunning. So I'm super excited I got to make these. So what have we got here? Here you can see I've just filled up a seedling tray with pots. I've put the media in. So the main mix I use is, I call it 25% cocoa peat, which is what's on top here. 25% these small chunks, cocoa chips, and then 25% perlite. Now you can see there, it's a good, chunky, airy mix. The roots will just go nuts growing through this. But then what I've done is I've left about 10 mil, give or take half an inch for those of you in America, and then I've top dressed it with cocoa peat. The reason I do this is when they're quite young and at this sort of size, there's not much in the way of roots, which you'll see as I pull them out. And they're very, very fine, delicate roots. So the cocoa peat being not quite as airy will let them spread those young early roots into the media. And then once they get a bit more established and mature, the roots will hit that more chunky mix and airy mix, and hopefully go nuts. And after pulling a few seedlings out of these pots to put into hanging pots and stuff, it's been working out fantastic. I've been testing a lot of different medias over the last year or so, and this has definitely been my favourite. So I'll just make a bit of space. I'll put you back in the tripod and hopefully you can see everything. Here's the tray. So you probably won't be able to see me in this, but I'm going to try and show off more of what I'm doing rather than looking at me. If I sit down here, it might help. So the sun's just peeked over the roof of the greenhouse there. Now, you might remember in my previous video, I talked about using cocoa peat to sow the seeds. These might have been in regular peat moss, which was my previous experiment. Which, look, it was great, but it gets very boggy. Yeah, that looks like just regular peat to me. Now you can see it really compresses and gets really tight and boggy. Great if you grow on Venus flytraps, Sarracenia, stuff, bog plants like that love it. And also, nothing grows this crappy carpet moss like peat moss does. But the advantage of using it is still the same as the cocoa peat. See there, just take the hose here, a light soft jet setting, quick spray, and you can see there it's separated out. That's a massive one compared to the rest, but just makes that separating seedlings so much easier. See there as well, I don't really get great roots growing in peat, so I'm not using it anymore. I won't do it again. But if you've ever used sphagnum moss for seeds and seedlings, you'll know that this stage of the process, trying to separate them out, is an absolute nightmare, and it takes forever. And this carpet moss is going to make it a bit trickier, but you see there, the media just falls off the roots, and you got a nice little plant there. Sometimes I'll try and pick some of the dead leaves off, dead pitches, but at this size they are pretty delicate, so I'm a bit more careful with them. Nice little pair of tweezers there. Pop that in the pot. And I'll just continue on feeding them in. With this, actually this mix here was another experiment I did using akadama and perlite and kanuma and stuff underneath, and I put a layer of stratum on top, which is a aquarium potting media. And look, it worked quite well. I had to separate this pot out earlier due to the amount of the carpet moss that was just overrunning the seedlings. Now they do look really nice and healthy, but I did a couple of tests putting individual seedlings in this mix versus my coconut-based mix, and I mean there was probably 15 into this mix and another 30 or so into the coconut, and the growth rates in the coconut were just exceptionally better. So I'm not going to be using this again either. But one advantage of it is when you get to the point here where you want to separate them out, it's just light pick up with the tweezers, and all that media does fall off the roots really quickly. See another nice one there. You do get good root growth in this mix. Hopefully you can see that there. So if you're not in a rush, it could be a decent idea. Set the seedlings in that for a while, get some good roots. But the roots I'm getting in the cocoa are fantastic as well, so I'll skip this stage next time. But it is an option if you're fighting mosses and algae and stuff like that. You can see a little bit of moss growing on there, but it's not as much of a problem, and you can generally just pick it out with a pair of tweezers. Comes out quite easily. So at this stage, once I've filled this tray, I'll just bring you back down. Once I've filled this tray out, I'll give them a good solid watering in, make sure that media is in contact with the roots really well. I'll print out tags for everything. You don't want to do trays of seedlings and then forget what you've sown where. So I've got my system that works for me here. I'm sure you'll all figure out your own ones. Once they're watered in, printed, got tags on them, I know what everything is, I'll go find space in the greenhouse for them. Now I'll bring you around and just show you what I've been working on the last couple of days, or weeks really. Whenever I had time. I'm on holidays at the moment, so there's a bit more time. I just, don't turn that fan off. That fan doesn't like to come back on, so I'll leave it. Hopefully it's not too noisy. But you can see there, trays of seedlings. These are some of the older ones. They've been potted up for a few months now. Coming down, more trays, some more trays there. And I'm actually at the point now I'm going to have to fill that little section in front of the trays, in between them, that little gap there. There's enough space there for a row as well. And obviously there's a little bit in that tray as well. So I'm going to fill up as much as I can here, and hopefully I don't end up with too many on the ground. As you can see there, I've already got a tray of cuttings starting on the ground because you probably can't see it too well through the plants, but my cutting trays are absolutely chock-a-block, and I still have all these bulk pots of cuttings still to deal with. But they're pretty young, so they don't need to be potted up just yet. And just while we're in here, thought I'd give you an update on the seeds we sowed in the previous video. You can see there, starting to get some good germination. I think I've got germination on 7 out of 8 of my lowly Veitchii crosses from this round. And as you can see, there is more and more seeds as far as you can see. So I'm trying to clear the rest of this out. There's just some TC plants I put up. And looking around the greenhouse, there is flowers. Double flower on my Veitchii. Nice big Veitchii there. In fact, if anyone has a nice female Veitchii, something squat and candy stripe particularly, hit me up here on Instagram. I'm dying to make some horticultural Veitchii seeds. I've got 4 males in flower at the moment, or a 5th flower, including the double on the Veitchii. And if you look over here, of course, if anyone's interested in doing some breeding, she got a nice Veitchii, a 50-50 seed split is the usual trade-off. That there is my lowly Veitchii in flower again. I think that would be the 3rd flower in the last 12 months. And if we come down here, it's not quite out yet, but out there is another flower on the basil. Unfortunately, because this thing's been in flower so much, I haven't had too many pictures. I'll zoom you out. There's a nice lower off one of the basils. I don't think there's any others hiding around, but it would be nice. I think after this set, if it flowers again, I'm going to cut them off. And you can see flower there, old flower stalk there. But I might give this thing a break, give it a repot, and just let it reset. Flowering and seed production does take a lot out of the plants. Sorry if I'm looking a bit warm and sweaty here. It is absolutely roasting in the greenhouse. Now, what are we up to? Yeah, 30 degrees and 94% humidity, and that's with the doors wide open. So it's going to be a seriously warm day today. I might leave you guys to it. I'm going to get back to work on these seedlings. Hope you have a great week and enjoy the rest of the holidays if you're still off. And I'll see you later. Cheers. Bye. Alright, I'm back. I finished up filming the earlier part of this video and then realised I didn't touch on a few things that I wanted to. So I've spent the last 5 hours working in the greenhouse, potting up the rest of my bulk tray of seedlings, organising everything. So I have got half a shelf of free space all of a sudden, which I'm very excited about. But I've definitely filled in this lower section, and I've moved the larger plants that are getting ready for sale up to this end. They get a bit more direct sunlight and just makes it easier for me to get to them. But as you go down the route, that's going to be for sale later this year or next year, depending on how the growth rates go. But what I want to touch on is this is once you've repotted your seedlings, like I was doing before, that's some of them there. Now's a perfect time to start fertilizing them. Give them a good boost in growth. I've used various things at the moment. I'm using a, what was it called? GT Focus, and it's the Orchid Growth one. It's urea free, so should be safe for all carnivorous plants. Been using it for maybe 4 months now. Some really good growth. It actually came from a tip from a YouTube video. One of my followers mentioned it, so I thought I'd give it a go, and so far so good. The other thing I wanted to touch on is lighting. So, well, actually now I've shuffled things around. I need to adjust which lights are which. But a great thing about having these Mars hydros is I can turn them up and down as need be. Now down the far end there, see a little bit, not much, there's just too much to see. But down the far end there, where I've got the smallest of the seedlings, they're going to have the longest to grow out. I'll turn the light right down, maybe to 20% or so. Now the lower light levels will give you larger leaves because the plant's trying to expand to get absorb as much sunlight as possible. But the one downside of this is it'll give you a weaker plant in general. So it might, boost up and get to a size like this really quickly, but you'll have one small pitches and two soft, weak leaves, which creates a weak plant, and it's not very good. So I won't keep them under a low light level for very long, but just enough to give them a bit more size. And so I'm just looking around to see, I suppose something along this lines. Not going to focus there. Once it gets to this, so maybe even a little bit smaller than this, I'll really start turning the lights up. I haven't really done much testing still for the measuring the light levels, but these do get a lot of light. Like I think I've had this tray here, and I had the light up at about 75%, and as you can see, a lot of the leaves are starting to colour up under those. But what I'm really looking for, let's have a look, is some of the truncata crosses, which I've now sold all the better ones. Oh, sorry, my knees aren't loving being on the ground down there. Yeah, it's a bit hard to find anything that shows the transition in one plant, but here we go. If I grab this one, and actually there's one just here above my head. No, sorry, I lied. Oh, that's on the right tracks there. So you can see this plant, the young, quite soft, thin leaves. And then once you get to this, that leaf there is a lot thicker, a lot tougher, and can take a lot more of a beating. Now that, to me, once you get a few of those good leaves, that's where I start to look at selling them. I don't want weak plants going out. I want good, strong seedlings. I also discard all the smallest of each seed batch. I'll keep all the good ones, and anything small doesn't make it to sales. I've done that already for all these through here. But still then, they're seed-grown plants. They're going to grow at individual rates. If anything really holds back and doesn't put on any size, over the next sort of 6 months, I might have to cull a few more. You might be able to tell there how much lower the light levels are in comparison to this end and here. And I suppose my greenhouse is at 80% humidity with the humidifier, which hasn't even had to go off today. It is still stinking hot here. And my daytime temperatures are 30 degrees in the greenhouse, and it drops down to about 20 at night. So I think that's everything I wanted to touch on. I think I'm going to go down and jump in the water because it is boiling. Hope you have a great day and see you next time. Cheers.